Hello and welcome to this video. Today we'll be discussing the basic rules of Root so you can jump in and start playing straight away. So Root is an asymmetric wargame where each faction plays differently. However, there are basic tenets or rules that this game uses, and if you learn them, you'll see it's really easy to learn and you can jump in and start playing. The first definition is the word pieces. Pieces can refer to a meeple, a building, which is a square piece of cardboard, or a token, which is a circular piece of cardboard. So whenever you hear pieces in the rules, it's referring to either of these: a meeple, a cardboard square, or a cardboard circle. When it comes to the map, but the basics are that we have clearings, which is where you'll be playing, placing buildings, having your combat. There are paths, which go from one clearing to another. And there is a forest, which is in between these paths and clearings, and a river, which some factions can make use of. The clearings are also differentiated by color. You can see an orange or mouse, red or fox, and yellow and bunny. So when you're triggering certain abilities and when you're using cards, which we'll get to later, they may request that you are placing a card of a matching clearing. You can think of it as a suit. In cards, we have diamonds, queens. There is something known as rule. Rule tells you who is in charge or rules a clearing and who has priority there. For example, here we can see orange rules this clearing. Here, blue rules this clearing. Nobody rules this clearing. And nobody rules this clearing. In order to rule a clearing, you need to have more warriors or buildings than another faction. So if I were to place a building here, now orange rules this fox or red clearing. Same as if I were to place another warrior here. Now orange rules this clearing. So it's buildings and warriors, but not tokens. The circular pieces do not count for rule. And you need to have more warriors or buildings. If there is an exception to this rule for your faction, for example, the blue faction or the Eerie, they will rule clearing even if there are equal amounts of troops. So this is an example of a faction breaking the rule or having an exception to the rule. In order to move your troops in Root, there are two rules you need to account for, and one of these needs to be met unless your faction has an exception to the rule. That is, number one, you rule the clearing you're coming from. So these red warriors can leave this clearing and move here because they ruled the clearing they were moving away from. Or number two, a warrior can move to a clearing that they do rule. So this troop, this warrior can move to this clearing because it's ruled by them. In this scenario, the red warrior is not able to move anywhere because they don't rule the clearing they're coming from, moving away from, nor do they rule any of the clearings they wish to move to. Battle in Root works in this way. Whoever is attacking rolls the dice. The attacker takes the higher number and the defender takes the lower number. Now you can only do as many hits as you have troops. So in this case, purple rolled 3 and they have 3 troops, so they can do 3 damage. If purple only had 2 troops, they could only do 2 damage despite rolling a 3. When you attack a faction and they have to remove pieces of cardboard, they get to choose what's removed first. If you're attacking cardboard, so tokens or bases, buildings, I mean, you must first take out the warriors. So by rolling this 3, you would only be able to do 2 damage and you could only take out these 2 troops. If there was a third purple soldier here, you would take out these 2 troops first, and then 1 damage will be given to the cardboard, and the orange faction will decide what's removed. If you do attack cardboard, so tokens or buildings, and there is no one to defend it, it's known as undefended. Therefore, whatever you roll, you'll gain an additional hit based on the number. So the attacker gets the high number, defender the lower, and there'll be an additional 4th hit given. So let's say if it was 2, let's say purple rolled 2, they would still do 3 damage as there's an additional hit given for free, even if they had 2 soldiers, they would wipe out all these 3 pieces of cardboard here. You can only build in these designated white squares. So that could be built there, that could be built there, but you can't build a third building in this particular clearing. Root comes with cards. There are 2 different decks that you can use. The base deck that comes with the game, and you can buy an additional deck which gives you more incentive for crafting abilities and is considered the better way to play. These cards are read in such a way where they have their suit at the top. So whenever your faction asks you to spend, reveal, or use a card's matching suit, you look at this. There is something here at the bottom and at the top right. So bottom left and top right. This tells you what you need to craft the card. So in this example, the card suit is red, fox, but to craft the card, you need to use whatever your faction uses to craft in yellow. You'll need 1 in yellow. So for example, the cats would need this, their workshop, in a yellow clearing. Then they could craft this card. In this box here, it shows you what you receive when you craft. In this case, you receive an item and points. In this case, you receive a perk to your faction where you treat rivers as paths. However, you can only get these items if they're available in the store. So for example, we wanted a boot, which is available. So we would take the boot, but should that boot not be there, we wouldn't be able to craft this particular card. And you can see other examples here. Here they're the same color, orange and orange, but they can be different. In this case, you'll need 2 red crafting buildings. So for example, you'll need 2 of these in a red clearing. Doesn't have to be in the same clearing. It could be 2 different red clearings in order to craft this sword. And of course, you'll need to have the sword in the item shop at the top. Other types of cards you'll see are dominance cards. These change your victory condition. So for example, in this one, you will need to rule by the start of your next turn. After playing this, you'll need to rule 3 yellow clearings. And then there are ambush cards. You play these cards as the defender when someone attacks you. So let's say here, orange is attacking cream, or the cats are attacking the moles. And we can see that they would play an ambush card, which would instantly, prior to the dice rolling, take out 2 of the orange meeples. However, the attacker can then retaliate by placing another ambush card that matches the clearing suit. So wild matches any clearing, and then they will cancel each other out. But this one would not cancel this out because it doesn't match the clearing where it's being played. So as a reminder, the suits are yellow, mouse, red, fox, and mouse, orange. And then there is the bird, wild, which can be applied to all of the different suits. When you pick your faction, you will receive a faction board. And on this faction board, there will be clear instructions on how to play as your faction. So the way to read this is you look at the top to see how your faction has exceptions to the rule or what additional features that they have. Then your turn will be broken down into 3 stages. So you would just follow these first through your bird song, which is the start of your turn. Then you have your daylight, which is the middle of your turn, where the bulk of your actions are usually done. And then your evening, which is the ending part of your turn. And you can just read these out as you go along. Everything should be clear in the text. If it's not, you can refer to the law of root, which will explain in more detail how your faction works. In addition, your faction will probably have extra information. For example, in this case, the cat's buildings. These will usually be filled up, and how you can fill them up can be explained here at the back. This will also help you with setting up the board. However, if you have the latest expansion, you will also receive advanced setup, which is a different way to set up, and then you wouldn't be using this. Thank you for watching. I hope that made sense. If it doesn't, just let me know in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer. The best way to get into this game is by playing numerous games, trying out the different factions, and enjoying this sandbox of possibilities that Root offers. So I hope you enjoy, and let me know how it goes.